All right, I think we can get started. Sanjay, could you go to the next slide? All right, so welcome everyone to day 4 of the program bootcamp. For those of you who are just joining us and haven't joined us before, make sure to fill out this form. This form will let us get you on the Slack and get you programming resources and other stuff. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Arnav, and I'm one of the programming co-leads. And Anish, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Anish. I'm the other programming co-lead, and then this year I'm also the data analytics coordinator.
So before we get started, we wanted to talk a few things about the test on Saturday. What we're doing this year is, since it's in a virtual setting, we're asking everyone to have a 2-camera setup if possible. So one would be on your laptop and one would be like a secondary device that sits next to you. We did this last year as well. Since we encountered a few occurrences of cheating last year, we want to do it again this year as well. So if you guys could get that by Saturday, that'd be great. One example of a secondary device could be your school iPad. So that's that. Anish, you want to continue? And on Saturday, we're going to have a 40-question multiple choice and FRQ or short answer question test. And we're also going to have a 4-question FRQ session as well. So it should take about an hour 15 minutes. So we'll let you guys know more details as Saturday comes. I think, Sanjay, you can take it away from here.
All right.
And one more thing, if everyone can turn on the cameras, that would be great. It's going to be good practice for Saturday. So if you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. Thank you. All right, Sanjay, take it away.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hi, guys. So today we'll be talking about methods. So we'll start off with some memes. All right. So what is a method? So a method is a small section of a program that you can use to do a specific task. So we can use methods many times throughout the program. So one thing to note is that function and method are basically 2 words that mean the same thing, and depending on the programming language, it's different terms. In Java, most often you'll hear it as method, but you can say function too, because they both mean the same thing. All right, so call. So calling is a verb, and it means to run or execute a method. So if you ever want to refer to a method, like when you're using it, you would say to call the method. All right, so methods take in input values called parameters and return an output. So methods can be used to do specific actions. So for example, like calculate the area of a circle given the radius, and calculate the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle given the other 2 sides. So like in this example, the radius will be the parameter and the area would be the output. So methods are mainly used to reduce code duplication and testing cases. So you don't need to duplicate code everywhere. It's extra work and harder to read. And also, if you write it correctly, you only need to test the method's correctness. So like one example, I'll use the circle example again. So say you want to calculate the area of 3 circles. So instead of doing the same area formula 3 times, you can use a method to do it once and just call it 3 times. And this way you only need to test if the method is correct and not the 3 times you call the method. Alright, so in Java, all the code which is executed must be inside a method. And note that main is a method. So all this time that we've been working, we've been putting all our code in the main method. But from now on, we'll be learning about new methods. So named methods can not exist inside other methods. So new methods have to be defined outside of main. So if you ever want to make a method, you have to make sure it's outside of the main, or else you'll get an error. So you'll hear this a lot, that humans are lazy, so programmers like to work smarter and not harder. basically what this means is that there's many shortcuts in programming to make our life easier. So some examples of useful methods are mathematical equations, computing statistics on an array of numbers, like finding the minimum or maximum of an array, finding information from a file or database, and a way of writing messages to a screen. All right, so here's how a general method looks. So at the start, we have public static double area of rectangle, and inside parentheses, we have double width, double height, and then here we have return width and height. So basically what this does is it takes the width and height, and it gives you the area. All right, so each of these are like the different highlighted parts have different names. So the green part is called a modifier. We'll learn about what these exactly do later, but for now, just know that they're called modifiers. The return type is what type of value is returned by the method. So remember that Java is a type-strict language, and all values need a type. So basically, either the method has to have a return type, or you make it void, which means it doesn't have a return type, so it doesn't return anything. In main methods, the return type is void, and that just means it doesn't return anything. All right, so and then the method name is just a user-defined name for the method. So these follow the same conventions as variables. Parameter list is this purple highlighted right here. So these are the inputs that are passed into the method. So in this example, it's width and height, and there's no limit to the number of types. Number or type of input. And lastly, the method's body. So the method's body is what is doing the calculations or whatever you want to do, and it basically takes these inputs and returns an output. And if the method has a return type, in this case double, then it must return that same return type. So like, oh my bad. So as you can see, it's double width and double height. So if you just imagine that it was in integer width and integer height, and then you return width times height, you get an error because you're not returning a double, you're returning an integer. All right, so as stated before, the main method is also a method and is an entry point for all Java applications. So any new methods that you want to create must be defined outside of main. So all methods from main must have a static modifier, and we'll learn about the static later. All right, so this is how a main definition would look like. And you've seen this before because this is what we use all the time when making our programs. All right, so as I said before, public static is the modifier.
Before you continue, I think that Ryan has a question.
Void is a return type, and as I said before, void is basically nothing. So the main method does not return anything. And in main,
Sanjay,
yeah. Oh,
before you continue, I think Dwayne has a question.
oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what's the difference between like a public void and a private void? Like, like whenever you're like creating like, cause I've like done something before where you do like private voids when you're like just do, yeah. So what's really the difference?
All right. Yeah. So that's a modifier, and as I said, we'll learn about modifiers later. But for now, just know that public means you can access it anywhere, and private means you can only access it in that class. Um, yeah. So we have to go through the modifiers, which we'll learn about in the future to understand that.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So where was I? All right. So the main method does take a parameter. An array of strings passed from the command line. So this is not really important because it's the same every time, so we're not really going to learn about this. All right, so So this is how you would call the method. So, oh, wait, my bad. Wait, okay, sorry. All right, so this is the same area of rectangle method that we saw before. So if you want to call it, you can store the area as a double. So double area1 equals the name of the function, which is area of rectangle, and then 1.1, which is a width, and 2.2, which is a height. And then this won't print anything because you're just storing it into a double. So if you want to print the area, you would use system.out.println, and then you use the name of the function, which is area of rectangle, and then you put it in your width and height. Notice that this order must be the same as this order. So if you wanted the height to be 3.3 and width to be 4.4, you would switch these two. All right, so the output of the method is stored in a variable of the same type as the method's return type. Like how here the return type of this method is double, and you're storing it in a double variable. So the method body is not referenced, it's only written once anywhere, and this is like the main point of methods, that you only have to write it one time to use it. And then you can just use a name to refer to the entire body. So when calling the method, the parameters don't have to have the keywords before them, only the method definition. So like here, you don't say double 1.1, double 2.2, you just say 1.1 and 2.2.
Okay, now here's our example of calling a method. So over here, you can see here that basically we have one method over here. And this is going to be called our total cost value, and it's a type double. So basically what this thing is going to do is it's going to be taking in two inputs. It's going to be taking in the price of an object, and it's going to be taking in an integer of units. So basically how much objects you're basically buying. And what this thing does is it has a variable inside the method called double tax rate. So in Michigan, we have a 6% tax rate. So the tax rate variable for this one is going to be 0.06. And basically what our method is going to be returning is it's going to be returning the total price of the item. So for example, if you had if you were going to buy like 5 jackets, which each cost $10, so you'd be passing in a double price of 10.0, for example, and int units would be 5. So what we'd be doing is we'd do 5 times 10, that's $50. And then we also need to multiply it by the tax rate, so times 1.06. And then this method is basically going to return that value. And then if you want to store the value, then basically you can create a variable for it in the main method. Or if you just want to print it out, you can use system.out.println. So you can see in this example over here, we have some object which costs $4.95, and we're going to be buying 6 of it. So once we print out this method, we get a value of $31.482 spent. And this is a second example of what you can do with methods. And Arunma, do you have a question?
Yeah, where would we be typing this, like in the public class, or would this be outside of that?
Okay, so this would be inside the public class, but then you'd make it outside of this main function over here.
Okay,
Does that
thank
make
you.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be a second example of a method. And our method over here is going to be public static boolean is even. And then our parameter is going to be an integer value. And so what this method is going to do is we put in a number value. And then basically this method is going to tell us whether the integer is going to be even or not. So basically this statement over here, number modulus 2 is equal to 0. That's basically a Boolean value. So if basically, for example, if we're passing in a value of 1, as you can see in the main method over here, then it's going to be, after we send in 1 through the parameter, Then inside the is-even function over here, we're going to be returning if 1 modulus 2 is equal to 0. And then if you guys forgot what modulus is, it's basically going to give you the remainder of a division. So 1 divided by 2, the remainder is not going to be equal to 0. It's going to be equal to 1. So this this statement over here is going to be false. So our method is going to print out a false value over here in the main method. And also in the main method, we're also testing if 22 is going to be even. So we're passing in 22 through the parameter. And then we're testing if 22 modulus 2 is equal to 0, which that is true. So it prints out true. And Adwayan, do you have a question?
Yeah, is there like any such function where that's already there where it checks if it's like a prime number or like anything like that? Do you know?
I mean, using the math class, there might be. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe Anish or Arnav, is there a function?
For checking if it's even?
Yeah.
No, I do not believe so. Because it's generally just doing what that return statement is doing. You just divide you use the modulo function and divide by 2 and check if the remainder is 0, because that's like the easiest way. I don't think there would be a need for a math function. If there is, cool. I don't think there is, though.
All right. I was just wondering.
Yeah, nice question. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so this is going to be a third example of what methods can do. So this time our method is going to be something called public static string longer. And our two parameters are going to be string A and string B. So basically what this method is going to do is we're passing in two string values. And then it's basically going to check which string it has more characters in it. And then it's if it's string A, then it's going to return the value of A. And if it's string B, then it's going to return the value of B. So obviously, in order to actually make this method like function or run, we're going to have to call it in the main method because every single executable piece of code should exist in this main method. So we're going to be printing out the return value of this longer function. And the two strings we're going to be passing in is string 1, and then we're going to be passing through another string, which is called string 2. And notice that our first string over here has a number 1, while the second string has like, it's written out as 2. So as you can see from here, string 2 is going to be longer than string 1. So as you can see here, during our print statement, it's going to be returning the longer string value, which is string 2. So now we're going to be talking about something called variable scope. So
Wait,
basically
actually, does anyone have questions about methods before we go to variable scope? Anything about methods? All right, cool. Move on.
Okay, if you guys have no questions on methods, then we'll be moving on to our next topic, which is variable scopes. So basically what variable scopes is that if you define a variable in one method, basically that variable is not going to be accessible in any other method. So we'll learn more about scope later and during later presentations, but for now we'll be learning about variable scope in methods. So this is our example over here. In our main method, we're creating a team number variable called int team number is equal to 226. But basically, we're creating a second method over here called public static void dummy. And since team number is only being defined in the main method, team number won't be accessible in dummy. So if you're trying to access the team number variable inside the dummy method, it's going to throw an error because it doesn't know what it's supposed to be looking for. So basically, we can see another example of variable scope. And if you actually want to get the team number into another method, then basically what you'd be having to do is you'd have to send that variable through as a parameter. So we can see in this example, we're defining int team number in the main method. So int team number is going to be equal to 226. And normally this print statement, this print method over here, it's not going to be able to access our team number variable. So if we wanted to get team number into this print method over here, what we'd have to do is we'd have to send it through as a parameter. So we can see here we're going to be calling the print method, and then we're going to be sending in the team number as a parameter. So what this print method does is that it takes the parameter and then it does system.out.println and it prints this value. So basically, if you run this main method, then your output would be a value of 226 because since we're sending it through the print method, it's going to be printing out that value. Okay, and moving on. And yeah, so one key thing to know about basically variable scope is that primitives are going to be passed only by value in Java. So that means when I'm passing in the team number variable as a parameter, for instance, and if I want to change the value of team number in a second method, it's not going to be changing the value of this original team number over here. So when you're passing in any variable value as a parameter, so basically that parameter, it's going to create a second copy of that variable. And then inside your other method, it's going to be changing only the second copy, not the original copy. So if that's a bit confusing, then you can see in this example over here, we have our main method again. And we're basically going to be defining the variable in team number is equal to 226 once again. And now we have a second method over here, which is going to be called public static void change. And basically, this change is going to be changing any parameter value you throw in. So you can see in our main method, we're going to be calling the change function. And then we're going to be passing through the integer value of team number. And now what happens if you print out system.out.println team number in the main method? What you're going to get is you're going to get 226, even though we're changing the parameter value as 1718 in the second function over here, because it's not basically this parameter, this second function is not going to be changing this original copy over here. So in team number equals 226, that team number is going to stay constant the entire time. It's not going to change unless you actually change the value in the main method. Does that make sense, guys? Does anyone have any questions on variable scopes? Okay, if not, I guess we can move on.
All right,
Okay, so here's your first exercise. And Sanjay, you want to explain that?
yeah, all right. So here's your first method. So on coding rooms, so we're gonna write a method that takes an integer in the range of 1 to 12 as a parameter and it returns the name of the month corresponding to that number. So make sure to account for inputs of numbers not within 1 to 12. And also one thing to consider is if you have time, how do you do this with an array of month names? So we'll give you guys about 7 minutes to do this.
There's still a few of you who haven't joined the coding rooms yet. Does anyone have any problems joining coding rooms at the moment?
I'll just do mine from VS Code. I'm just getting a lot of problems with it. I'm just gonna do mine from VS Code.
Okay. Will you be able to copy and paste it when you're done into the presentation workspace?
No, it's not even. It's not gonna. It's not letting me go into there. So like, I'm not able to like get in. So I guess I can like
Or
screen
not?
share.
Okay.
In Hill, I have the directions on the presentation workspace. Advan, are you good with the directions? Do you have them? I'm gonna try move it back to the how to create a method, the method like configuration types.
All right. Yeah.
All right, cool. Then Hill, if you can move it back to the like component, so it's like easy to create it.
This one?
Yes, thank
All right.
you.
All right. So, Teja, do you want to present your code?
Yeah, sure. Should I just copy and paste it into the
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. First run it and then explain how you did it.
Okay. So, okay, so first in the main method, I just have a print statement that calls the month method, and we gave a input integer right here. So this is I gave it 7, so it took the 7 so it went to the string array, and it went through the 7th. So it actually counts from 0, but then in the return statement I have it so it says j minus 1. So then when it goes up to, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's actually August, but then we subtract 1 because in months we don't start from 0. So yeah, and it prints out July. If I change it to 8 and I run the same thing again, it returns August. And if you enter a value that's above 12, so for example 14, it says number must be between 1 to 12.
All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. So a lot of people I don't think were finished. So just spend some time to type it out by yourself and type it out. Don't copy it. So then you get you get like a feel of writing the correct methods. So we'll give you a few minutes to type it out yourself and try it. All right, so is everyone done copying it? And if not, just unmute and say so. All right, so if we're all done with that, we can move on to the next exercise. All right, so um, so we're gonna convert. I mean, not convert. So we're gonna make two methods which calculate the area and we're gonna make two methods that calculate the area of a circle. So they will both take one parameter, the circle radius, and they will use double as the type, and both of them will return a number and again use double as the type. So you have to call these two both methods with 3 different radii, and if you have a calculator or you can use your computer to check your answers. All right, so if you guys are done with the first one, you can move on to this one. If not, just finish copying them and then move on to this one. So we'll give you guys about 5 to 10 minutes for this. Alright, so if you're done with the circle 1 method 2, can you raise your hand? Alright, I'll wait for at least 6 people to be done, and then we can start explaining it. Alright, I think that's enough time, so we'll go over it now. Alright, so Rohan, do you want to present your code on the workspace?
Sure. Should I just copy paste it?
Yeah.
And then I can run it. Right. So should I just explain it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the main method, I start off by calling the circumference method and inputting 5.00 as the radius, and then that goes into the value double R. And then in the return statement, it returns 2 times pi times r, which is the circumference formula. Then that returns the in the output. And then in the main method, I call the area method and put 5.3, which goes into double r, the radius. And then that just gets inputted into the area formula and outputs the area.
Alright, yeah. Alright, so that's how you do it. Was there any questions? Because I don't think a lot of people got it. So if you have any questions, just unmute and ask them.
For me, it's saying that it can't find java.util.scanner for some reason.
Well, you don't need a scanner for this. If you look at the example code, Rohan did not use a scanner.
Oh, alright. I just thought that, yeah. I thought that you were
You-
supposed to like put a scanner in.
You can put a scanner for like getting the radius. The issue with your input is make sure all letters are like exactly the same. So scanner is a class that's a scanner is an object, and objects start with capital letters. So just as a reference, scanner will be, or the import for scanner, like java.util.scanner, that scanner has a capital S.
Oh, alright. Yeah, that's why nothing was working.
Alright, any other questions? All right, I'll give you guys a few minutes to go over the example code, and then we can move on to the next one.
Does anyone feel like they're not understanding? Because methods are pretty difficult.
So does return basically just mean it's gonna like print it in a sense?
Return, or actually, does anyone, does Sanjay or Nahil want to take this one?
Oh yeah, all right. So if you say return, it doesn't mean it prints it. It just means it returns that value. So like for example, if you made like a method which takes two integers, right? And then you say return the first integer plus the second integer. So if you call that in the main method, it actually wouldn't do anything. So it just stores that value. If you wanted to actually print it, you would have to use system.out.println, and then inside that you have to do the function call. So like if you look on the presentation in the main method, so as you can see, he said public static double area is equal, and then he has one parameter which is double r, and then he returns pi times r squared. So here, wait, I can. So if he just did, let's say area 7.00, and then if you run see, so you only get these two, you don't get this. So return doesn't actually mean it prints it. If you wanted to print it, you have to include the system.out.println.
Oh, so return means like you calculate the value
Yeah.
in a sense. All right. Thanks.
hmm
Any other questions? That was a good question. Return and print was a pretty hard differentiation from back then and now. Does anything not make sense?
Oh yeah, I also had another question.
Yeah.
So I've always seen whenever I try to create another method, like even from before, when I was like doing a little bit of Java, it always says that I have to like include some code in the main method.
Well, yeah, you do all your function calls, method calls in the main method. So if you don't have anything in the main method, nothing will happen.
Oh, so it's basically like the run method in a sense, because I wasn't really, you know.
Oh, all right, yeah. So actually, when you run the program, the only thing which computer actually like runs is the main method. So anything which you don't put in the main method, nothing will be run.
Oh, okay.
So if you just make functions like how we have area, but you don't call in the main method, nothing will happen. So you have to call something in the main method for something to happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just raising my hand for the previous activity.
Any other questions?
Shema, what's your question?
Yeah, so I did the original one with like just the input, and it seemed to work properly. And then I tried using user input, but I'm like having a couple of like errors. Can you help me out at this point? Because like,
Yeah. Let me check your code.
yeah.
All right, wait. I'll get them started on next exercise, and then I can help you. Yeah, okay. Alright, so here's our third method. So write a method that calculates the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle given the other two sides. So use double as a type for the two parameters, and you use the Pythagorean theorem, which is as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then if you want to find the square root, use math.square root. And then like we did with the circle one, use a calculator to verify three different sets of the Pythagorean method.
Do we need to import the java.lang.math for this one?
No, that's actually a built-in library, so if you don't need to import anything. And
Oh,
also,
okay.
Shamant, I tried your code and it works fine. So, I'm not sure
Yeah,
what problem.
I think you ran main. I changed it to method too, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I also have a question in general. My question is
Yeah.
whenever you're like coding, like I'm just asking like you in general, but like what do you guys like do like? Because sometimes I get this like parsing error, and like I know that's because like I have some really bad formatting. So what do you guys like do to like help with the formatting of the you know thing, uh, the brackets or whatever they're called?
Just make sure to indent your code properly. So so all the code which you want in the method, it should be indented at least one inside the method. If you have them both on the same like column, it won't work. So yeah, just make sure that's the only thing I can think of is just like indenting your code properly. That all the code that you want inside the method is indented. So you can tell the difference between method call and the body.
Oh, okay.
Is this like an error in your code that's showing up, or is this just like making it more organized?
No, it was like an error that was showing up like from before, like yesterday. Like it was saying like error parsing before end of something like that.
Okay, that's awkward. I don't think that has anything to do with indentation. Indentation is good. It's a good way to organize your code. But Java, when it compiles, indentation in the end doesn't matter. If that error ever comes up, just give us a heads up. I'm actually interested to see that.
All right.
All right, cool. I'm assuming you have your hands raised if you're done, right? Or do you have questions?
I'm done, so I raise my hand.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I think you can go for it. It's on Dinner Hill. I forgot who.
All right. All right. If you're done and want to present, just unmute and post your code into the presentation.
I can post my code in the presentation.
All right. Go ahead.
I think there's an error when I copy pasted it because it's working in my workspace, but it might just be like where I copy
Fixed.
pasted. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. All right. So you want to explain how you did it?
Yeah, sure. So what I did first is I set the method as a static double find hypotenuse, and then you have to double side one and double side two. So then the math is the square root of side one and side two, and then I have to return h, which is the hypotenuse, and then yeah, from there I put the sides as like 905 and 876 just to like test it, and then yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Why do you include this part, the percent sign dot 2f?
Oh, maybe it's accidentally there from the previous one that I was doing.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Yeah, you can delete that out.
All right, yeah. So that's how you do it. All right. So any questions on this one?
I don't have a question, but I did it a little bit differently. I mean, it still works, but
All right. If you want to share yours, you can go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, for me too. I did the code a little bit differently, but mine still gave a correct answer.
All right. Yeah. All right. So if you guys want to share your code too, you can just copy paste in the presentation. One second. I'm gonna delete the top code. All right. So first run it and then explain how you got it.
Okay, so basically what I did was I created the method hypotenuse, and then I just put the two values, the double A and then B. And then I basically just called it like step one, and then I did the whole like squaring part. And then I just said return and then math square root step one, which was above. And then in the main one, I just printed hypotenuse equals and then hypotenuse, and then the parentheses, I just put the values.
All right, yeah. So this is also a good way of doing it. It just in this she did in two steps, but in the one before she did all of them in one statement. But either way works.
Okay.
All right. All right. One person said that another way. You want to present that too, or it's the same?
I had a way with scanners, using
Um.
scanners. I don't know.
All
I
right.
just like user input. I don't know. I guess
I mean, as long as you have this logic, the hypotenuse logic the same, then it's fine. And it's fine.
Yeah, only problem is that the base values will always you always have to have an integer, but like the hypotenuse will always be like a double, or It'll always output a double.
All right. So actually, you can actually get double values from scanners. It just instead of using next int, you do next double.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, can I just paste my code then?
All right. Wait. First, who pasted this code? Is it?
That was my code.
All right. You want to explain it?
Yeah, so I just had hypotenuse and then I put the parameters for hypotenuse as 3.00 and then 4.00, and then I created the class for hypotenuse and the return type as double, and I put the parameters as double base and double height, and then in the return statement I just put the formula for finding the hypotenuse, so square root of b squared plus c squared, and then yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So again, this is another good way of doing it. In this case, she didn't store her result in any variable, and she just returned it directly. And again, any of three ways are okay as long as you get the correct answer. All right. Adwayan, you want to present your code?
Sure. Give me a second. Right. Control C. And then where do I paste it at? Oh, all right. Yeah, under public new class main, right? All right.
Yeah.
Control V. Oh yeah, I forgot public static void. All right. Copy. Control V. All right. I don't know why it's giving an error, but when I'm running it, it's
All right. So I think the reason why is because you're making your scanner in hype calc, while well, first you don't have an import statement, and second, you should be making the scanner in the main method, not the hype calc. And this goes back to the variable scope you're talking about. So if you make it in hype calc, you won't be able to access it in main, and we need it in main because that's
no
where
wait.
our code runs.
Hypecalc is the name of the variable, and I just pasted the name of the variable in using the private static void. But on my end, it's showing up just fine. Here, let's see. All right. All right. I don't know why it's not showing up on
It's not
Oh yeah,
imported.
because there was no import statement on the top of it, right? Import java.util.scanner. Right, yeah, that's why it wasn't able to do anything, right? Oh yeah, well, yeah. All right. Yeah. So like I can enter like any base length, like just say
Do 345.
1.618 or and then the other one I'll enter as 23 point oh yeah, wait. Let's just enter as 12.3, and here's what the hypotenuse would be. And
All right.
you can
Yeah,
basically
go
put
ahead.
in.
Yeah.
You can
All right.
basically.
So, yes, this works, but generally, when we're doing stuff like this, you want to make your scanner in the main method and not in your other methods, because say you want to use a scanner for a second method, then you would have to make a new scanner every time. But if you make it in the main method, you only have to use it once. I mean, sorry, you only have to make it once. So it works, but just as a reference, make your scanner in main.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. All right. All right. I think you guys understand this, so we can move on to the next one. And you're gonna put down your hands. All right. Next one. Write a method that takes two integers as parameters and raises the first integer to the power of the second integer. So don't use math.pow, and in order to do this, you will have to use loops, and you don't have to calculate negative exponents. Just have something which um, which which says that you can use negative exponents as a message. So call the method with 3 different sets of values and verify with your calculator. This one might be a little bit harder, so we'll give you a bit more time. If you're all done, just raise your hand. All right. I think we have enough people done. So, Soham, can you present your code?
Oh yeah, sure. So alright. Alright, so if I run it, oh, is there?
Yeah, just change your method. I'm sorry, class name.
Oh, yeah. Wait, is there like an extra?
There might be.
Wait, can't really see where the extra thing is.
All right, wait. You can just delete everything and copy paste it again.
Alright.
And change your class name.
Alright, so basically what I did is when you get a value, you have to check if the exponent is positive or negative. So it checks that in the first half, and if it's negative, then it prints out a warning saying that only enter a 0 or a positive exponent. And then I return the value that they printed. So it's like if you printed -2, you'll get -2 back. And after that, if it's not a negative value, then I create a variable called value, which is equal to 1. And then I return that after multiplying the a value by itself for however long like b value is, which is like the exponent. Then and then I call the method.
All right, yeah, that's right. All right, so first, any questions? Oh wait, let me screen share. All right, any questions? All right, so yeah, this one was kind of hard, so don't worry if you didn't get it. Just make sure to type this out on your own so you understand how to do it. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that, and then we can move on. All right, so does anyone else need it, or can we move on? Okay, I guess we can move on. All right, Nahil, you can take it from here.
Okay. Okay, guys, so here's your next exercise for right now. So what you're going to do is basically you're going to write a method, and its parameter is going to be an array of integers. And basically what you want to do is you want to have one method that is basically going to calculate all the sums of the integers in the array. And basically in your array, the length and the values inside it, they're all up to you. And then basically down below is an example of how you can declare arrays. And then when you guys are done writing this first method, write a second method that takes an array of doubles as a parameter, and it returns the average value of the items in the array. So use what you guys learned about methods today and what you guys learned about loops yesterday to complete this exercise. And right now, you guys can lower your hands, but then when you guys are done, please raise it so we know that you're done and we can move on. Okay, and just as a reminder, when you guys are done with this exercise, please put your hands up. Okay, I'll give you guys 2 more minutes and then we could probably have someone present. Okay, so if anyone else finished, please raise your hands. Okay, I guess we can get started. So, Shamant, do you want to paste your code in the main session?
Oh wait, sorry. I had it. I guess I forgot to lower my hand or something. Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, it's okay. David, do you want to paste your code in then?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so David, do you want to explain what you did?
So we have a method right here called sums, and then we defined a variable called sum, set the value to 0, and then had an array of 5 numbers. Had a for loop, variable I just set to 0, and then it would keep running until I was less than or equal to numbers, the length of the array minus 1, because this arrays are counted 0, 1, 2, 3, and then I plus plus, then the sum would be sum plus sum equals to sum plus numbers I. Then it would return the sum and then print it, which is 15 in that case, and the average. So I just used the same code I used in the sums method, and then at the end divided it by the length of the array.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And David, just one thing, I mean, this perfectly works, right? But then, an additional thing that you could do is that instead of defining the arrays inside this method, you could define it in the main method and then just take in an array as a perimeter. So that way, like, you can use the sums method for like whatever array you want, basically. So, basically, if you wanted to take in an array as a perimeter, like let's say we wanted to take in an integer array as a variable. I mean, as a parameter, for instance. So all you guys would have to do is you just have to do int, and then you'd put the bracket sign to indicate that it's an array. And then you can create any name for it. So like numbers, for example. And then that's how you'd take in an array as a parameter. So good job, David. Does anyone have any questions on this code?
And again, to repeat, does anyone have any questions on methods overall? Because it is still pretty confusing. It's kind of a thing you just keep on practicing until you get down. All right, cool. I think you can introduce the next exercise. I think there's two more, 2 or 3 more.
So here's the next exercise that you guys have to do. So basically what you have to do for this one is you have to write a method that takes in 3 integers as parameters and returns the minimum of the 3. That's the first method you're going to create. The second method you're going to create is you have to write a second method that returns the maximum of 3 integers. And basically next, the third method you have to write is you have to write a method that takes an array of integers as an argument, and then it returns the minimum value in the array. And for this third method over here, make sure it works for arrays of any length. So this is going to be a longer exercise. So I'm going to give you guys like 10 minutes, 10 to like 15 minutes to finish this one. And when you guys finish, just make sure to raise your hands, okay? Okay, nice.
Tasia, do you have a question or are you done?
Oh no, I don't have a question. I just have a raise from before.
All right.
Okay, guys, take your time on this one. This one's a bit more difficult than the rest of our exercises. So I'll give you guys like 6 more minutes, and then when you guys finish, just make sure to raise your hand. Okay, guys, so when you're done, just make sure to raise your hands. Okay, for time's sakes, it's okay if you're not done. I'll just have, Tasia, do you want to present your code?
Yeah, sure, I can present my code. Should I just copy and paste it?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So this was my code. I can run it. And should I explain it or?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started out by in the main method I listed a. Oh, someone deleted it. I'll just repaste it. Okay. So in the main method, I listed an integer array. It was just a bunch of random numbers. And the length of the array didn't matter either. And I had three other methods. So the first method returned the minimum of the 3 integer values that I inputted. So how I calculated was the math min function. I used that for this method, and I just used the same syntax but changed it to math.max for the second method that returned the maximum of 3. And for the third method, which we needed to return the minimum number in an array, I just took the integer array from the main method, and I used it, and I used the for loop to go through the whole array through each index to find the minimum value and return the minimum value.
Okay, yeah. So this code is perfect. This was probably the hardest part of the entire presentation. So you guys would want to basically find the minimum value. Oh, could whoever deleted that please put it back up? Okay, thanks. So yeah, for this third method, this is exactly how you want to do it. You want to go through the for loop and you want to go through each of the values and then create basically find like your minimum value. And then Teja, what you did for the minimum and the maximum values for these two, I mean, they obviously do work, and it's probably like the simplest way to do it. But then basically, if you want to write this code out on your own, so basically what you would do for this one is you would, so for example, if we want to find like the minimum value, so basically this code over here, it could work, but if you want to do it a second way, what you could do is you could just make a bunch of if statements. You could do if 1 is less than 2 and 1 is less than 3. And you can have the entire code, you can have this method return 1. Else if, and then you do the same thing but with 2. If 2 is less than 1 and 2 is less than 3, then you'd have it return 2. And finally, if it doesn't return anything for 1 and 2, then you know that it has to return 3 as the value. So if we run this method again with the inputs of 7, 2, and 3, it should input a value of 2 again. Oh wait, we had to change the class name. If we run it again, it should return 2, 7, and 4. So you guys could do it either this way using if statements, or you could do what Teja used using the math class. So good job, Teja. Does anyone have any questions on his code? Okay, if not, then we'll go for our final presentation, final exercise for today. So this is your last exercise. Basically what you have to do is write a method that takes an array of integers as a parameter and returns a reversed version of the given array. And when you guys want to print out the array using system.out.println, make sure to use the arrays.toString method like you see over here. That way the output's actually going to print out an array value. And I'll give you guys like 10 to 15 minutes for this one, and then yeah, you guys can raise your hand when you guys are done. Okay, we're gonna have to wrap up soon, so did anyone finish the exercise yet? Okay, if not, then I guess I'll go through it. So, we have our class, obviously. New main, and we need a main method. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to create a random array. So int array is equal to, and let's just put in random numbers of integers. And like that. Now basically what we're going to have to do in this method is we're going to have to take our array and we're going to need a method which is going to reverse the output of the array. So we're going to create a new method and we want it to return an integer array basically. So we're going to make the type int and then we're going to add brackets to it. And we can just name this one reverse. And then it's going to take in an array and we can call this one original. So basically, so one thing that you could do is you could create a new array for basically our reversed array. So int, and then we can just name this one new array. Then we can make this one equal to a new int, and then we would have to do original dot length. Okay, and then what I would do right now is I would create a for loop. I is equal to 0. I is going to be original dot length, and then I plus plus. So now what we're going to be doing is this new array over here. It's going to be the same size as the original. So basically, we're going to want to set values. Sorry, that's my timer. And so what we're going to want to do right now is we're going to want to set the values of new array to basically the last position of original. So new array at the 0th position should be our original array at its last position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do new array, and then I'm going to do I, and then I'm going to set it equal to our original array, and then its position at basically original dot length minus I, and then minus 1. And so after new array basically puts out all of its values, so then what I want to do after that is after this for loop, I want to return the value of new array. And notice that new array is going to be an integer array, and that's what the method is going to be returning. So over here, system.out.println, and then notice over here it says use arrays.toString to print out arrays. So what we're going to do is we're going to do arrays dot toString, and we're going to put in reverse and then array. And I think in order to use this arrays class, we're going to need an import. So import java.util.arrays. And let's see if this works as it's supposed to. Line 17, we need we need a semicolon to end this one off. And yeah, that's line 17. Now let's see if it runs. And yeah, notice now the array is basically printed backwards. So 9, 7, 2, 5, 3, and then 1. So does anyone have any questions on the code I just wrote out?
Krishna, do you have a
Okay,
question?
Yeah, so why did we import Java utilities?
Could you repeat your question?
Why did we import Java util array? Yeah, that,
Oh, okay. So basically, we need import java.util arrays because if we're printing out an array value, then basically we need to use this function, which is arrays.toString. And so arrays is basically going to be a Java class that already exists. So Java basically created this class called arrays. So if we want to use a method from this class arrays, then we need to basically import this class into our program over here, which is why we're doing import java.util.arrays.
okay, thanks a lot.
And yeah, so basically we're gonna learn more about like importing different classes in I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow's presentation, and you'll get more clarity on that one during that presentation.
Okay.
All right, I think we can wrap
Okay,
up
does anyone
there.
have any?
So we're a bit over time, so if you have any questions, stay after. If not, you guys are free to go. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I'd see ya.
David, do you have a question? Oh, I think he's frozen.
I think he's a.
Okay, yeah, we can leave.
All right. Good job, boys.